Welcome to Chapter 4, Lesson 4, Part 2, where we're going to learn how to apply our Divide Pathfinder, create compound shapes using our Pathfinder panel, and how to create special effects using those compound shapes. So we're going to complete 3 different projects on this video. And our first one is going to be our star. So the final project will look like this. This one will go pretty quick. We're going to go to File, Open. And then, of course, we'll go to our business handout. And then we'll go, or handout, business handout, Shonifer, computer graphics, Chapter 4, or Illustrator in Chapter 4. And then we are going to open 4-10 for this start. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our Divide Pathfinder to create that star. So the first thing we're going to do is take our selection tool and click on our red line. We're going to go ahead and make a copy of this line, rotate it at 30 degrees. So we'll double click on our rotate tool, change our angle to 30 degrees, and then make sure that we hit copy. Then we're going to do this 4 more times. You can either go to Object and then transform and transform again, or you can use your Control D function. So I'll do the transform again for now, and then the rest of them I will do the transform D function. So now we have our star divided into 12 points. So I want you to come over to Select and Select All so that our lines and our star are selected. And then we're going to hold down our Alt key and click the divide button. And the divide button is going to be this one down here. So now you'll see that it's divided into 12 individual parts. And if you go to your direct selection tool, click on your artboard to deselect everything, you'll see as you hover over how these are different sections. So what I want you to do now is click on that top point in the left section, and then hold Shift and click every other section. So you should have something that looks like this. And then you're going to select the orange color on your swatches. And then what you're going to do is we're going to change that blue to yellow. And the easy way to do this is go to Select, and then the inverse so that we're selecting all the opposite objects, and selecting the yellow. So now if you take your selection tool, click on the artboard, you'll have your final star that matches mine. And you're going to save this one as last name, comma, first name, divide. And that's right over here. So last name, comma, first name, divide. The next one is going to be compound shapes. So this is what our final product is going to look like. But to create this one, we're going to go to File and Open. And you should still be in Chapter 4. And we're going to open 4-11. So once we get 4-11 open, what you're going to see is just 2 sets of overlapping circles. So once it's open, we're going to go to our view called yellow by going to View, scrolling down until you see your yellow option, and it'll bring it to where we're zoomed in on those 2 yellow circles. We're going to select both of these circles, so we're going to go to our selection tool, click our first one, and then hit Shift, and click our second circle. We are going to hold down our Alt key and then click our Exclude button in our Path panel, or Pathfinder panel. So if you come over here, hover over this option, it's called Exclude, holding down the Alt key, we're going to click on it. Now what I want you to do is go to your direct selection tool, click on your artboard to deselect, and then select just one of your yellow circles. What you're going to do now is move that yellow circle, so clicking and dragging, to where you only see a sliver of outlines of each of those circles. So that exclude function changes what is excluded based on where those circles are dragged and dropped. So I want it to be where there's just a little sliver of each yellow circle on the sides. So now we're going to go to our view and go to our green circles and do something different with our green circles. So taking our selection tool, clicking on our first circle, holding Shift, and clicking on our second circle. Then we are going to go to our Pathfinder panel, and we're going to hold down the Alt key, and this time we're going to select Intersect. So these are going to be the overlapping ones. So holding Alt, select our option, and now you'll see that only the two sections that are intersecting will show. Click on your artboard to deselect, and then I just want you to click one using your direct selection tool, and you're going to move that circle until you see just the top part of your green circle selected. And then you can click on anywhere in the artboard to deselect it. And that is going to be all we're doing for this one. So you're going to do a File, Save As, and it's going to be called Compound Shapes. So this is what our final product for Compound Shapes will look like. And so now on to the final segment of Part 2, where we're going to learn how to use compound shape as effects. This is what our final product will look like. So to create this, we need to go to File, Open, and we are going to open 4-12. So once 4-12 opens, we are going to go to our Select All function. So going to Select and then Select All. And we're going to hold down our Alt key and click our Exclude option, which our Exclude option is this furthest one. Holding down Alt, clicking Exclude, and then clicking anywhere on the artboard to deselect to see what our new image looks like. Now what we're going to do is we're going to select each of these squares. So clicking on the first one, holding Shift, clicking on the second one, still holding Shift, and then clicking on the third one. Now we're going to drag and drop and move those circles to where they overlap or move those squares where they overlap our circles on that top right-hand side. Then you can click anywhere on your artboard and deselect, and you'll notice that where it's overlapping, that is excluded from our image. Now what I want you to do is use your direct selection tool and select all three squares again. Selecting your first one, holding Shift, selecting your second, and your third. So now I want you to drag and drop a copy of these three squares to the opposite side of the circles. We're going to do that by holding down our Alt key and then clicking on one of the anchor points and simply dragging. So clicking and dragging, keeping the mouse in, and then once we have it lined up, we're going to release. Oh, sorry about that. Go undo real quick, holding down our Alt key, clicking and dragging and releasing our mouse before we release our Alt key. And that's going to give us a copy on both sides, still where it's excluding those overlapping segments. So now what I want you to do is we're going to scale each circle at 150 using our Transform Each command. So taking our direct selection tool, clicking on our first circle, holding Shift, clicking on the second and third while still holding Shift, coming to our object, and then transform, and then coming to the Transform Each function. We're going to change our scale to 150 for horizontal and 150 for vertical and hit OK. Then what I want you to do is select your artboard to deselect everything and then just click on this center circle so that we just have one circle selected. Double click on your scale tool and change your scale to a uniform of 200%. And we're just going to hit OK. We don't want to make a copy, we just want to alter the current one that we have. So once we've scaled that middle circle to 200%, we need to arrange it in the front so that when we do our intersect, it's going to intersect everything on our top layer. So coming to Object, Arrange, and then we're going to select Bring to Front. So now we're going to hold down our Alt key, and then come to our Intersect option on the Pathfinder. Click it, and now you'll see that only things that were underneath that original circle or intersected with that circle are going to be visible. You can go back to your selection tool, click on the artboard, and now you have your final product. So go ahead and save this one as last name, comma first name, and compound shape effects. Then all three of these assignments you will turn into the assignment called compound shape effects. And then go ahead and move on to Chapter 4, Lesson 5.